Chapter 6. Kat and Kincaid had gone hiking to Ultimate Peak of Desire for their first date. They were supposed to go to the island zoo afterward, but the weather looked to be taking a turn for the worse. Their tour guide, Heathcliff, had taken them to tour Santos, a tall, cave-like structure. Not long afterward, the sky darkened, and then thunder and lightning struck in succession. "We'd better get started back," Enforcer Merengue, the official that accompanied them, advised. "Sure thing," Heathcliff replied. The guide was supposed to use a shortcut to take them back to the resort, but over an hour later, they were in the middle of nowhere. They must have changed this path? Heathcliff scratched his head. His shortcut didn't pan out, so his excuse is saying they must have changed the path, Cade whispered to Kat. Through them chatting earlier, they'd both established their nicknames. Kincaid went by Cade, Catalina, Kat. Responding to Cade's comment, she said, "I hope he figures it out soon. It looks like it's about to pour." "Yeah, we're in the middle of nowhere. I don't even see a path anymore," Cade replied. Heathcliff hit a button on his compass watch. It projected an image of the landscape in front of him. He maneuvered the projection, searching the maps. The holographic image kept blinking like it was about to fizzle out. Sprinkles of rain started to come down. "Do you have any idea where you're at?" Enforcer Merengue asked. "Somewhat," Heathcliff replied. "The shortcut is different than when I took it a while back." A series of lightning bolts struck. Kat wrapped her arms around herself. The camera guy tucked his camera closer to his body. Heathcliff continued to use his compass, attempting to figure out where they were. The rain began to come down harder. Merengue hit the side of her shades, the weird ones that all enforcement wore. A small beam of light lit across the top. "Is your radio comm working?" Enforcer Merengue asked Heathcliff. "I can't get a signal with this weather disturbance." "I'm not getting a clear one either," Heathcliff shouted over the pouring rain. "Can we find cover until you figure out which way to go?" Cade asked. "It's getting bad out here." "This is turning into a nightmare." The cameraman, Rudolph, smacked his lips. "He's got us lost. We should have listened to the other scout. Now we're stuck in a storm." Heathcliff wrinkled his nose, but he didn't bite back. He walked ahead quickly, and reluctantly, they followed. They found another grotto where they could take cover. Unfortunately, the space in there could only fit 3 of them. It would have to do. They were getting drenched. Heathcliff volunteered Rudolph to go with him to see if he could find familiar ground, while the others stayed there. Kat, Cade, and Merengue huddled inside the grotto. The enforcer continued to try and get a signal through her communications shades with no luck. "This isn't how I expected our date to be," Kat's brow knitted. "It is ending with a bang, or shall I say, stranded in a hell of rain." Kat giggled. Merengue snorted. The space was dark and dreary. Night was beginning to fall. Add in the storm, and soon they wouldn't be able to see anything. They all turned on their flashlights to provide light. The wind howled. However, the rain had lightened slightly. "Heathcliff has been gone a mighty long time. Maybe he's more lost than he was before," Cade said. Kat shook her head. "If that's even possible." "Since there's a break in the rain, I'm going to see if I can spot them and try to get a signal on my radio," Enforcer Merengue told them. "Is that a good idea?" Cade asked. "I won't go far. I'll keep this area in my line of sight. Just stay put." They nodded as Merengue went to attempt to search the area. Kat sat with her arms wrapped around her legs. Their date had gone south quick, but she was glad Cade was with her. The light from their flashlights was dim, but she could see the creases in his forehead. Finally, Cade asked, "How did you end up signing up to be a temptress for the trials?" Kat's brow knitted. She shifted her position on the hard rock surface. "It's definitely not something that I planned on doing. Personally, I think the show is ridiculous." She peered around even though Enforcer Merengue was too far away to hear. "The government is unscrupulous for making people test their love in the first place." "Was it because you thought you might find someone here that you might be more compatible with than the person they are fighting for?" Kat hadn't known Cade long, but he was easy to talk to. She decided to explain. "I entered the temptation for my brother." His brow furrowed. "Okay." She laughed, her nerves on edge. Earlier in the day, when they'd been getting to know each other, Kat learned that Cade had a younger brother also. He was a year older than Corey. That's why I mentioned that Corey can't go outside much. He's been undergoing treatment. He was diagnosed with alveolar soft part sarcoma, ASPS, a year ago, and he's not doing well. The expression on his face was full of compassion. There's nothing they can do? There is an experimental drug. With that, Corey would have a way better survival rate. The problem is that insurance doesn't cover it, and there's no way my family can afford it. As a temptress on the show, we also get over-the-top allowance, and we get to keep whatever's left. So, you will use whatever is left for the experimental drugs? Kat nodded. It will be more than enough to get Corey started, she sighed. I'm not a fool. I understand that being part of the trials is going to cause chaos. I am not a homewrecker. My goal is not to destroy someone else's relationship in order to find someone better suited for me. The show was a way for me to help my brother. Corey will not survive without the experimental medicine. Of course, the meds are not a sure thing. Nothing is. But it's a chance that Corey otherwise wouldn't have. I'm in awe of you. You're so noble. Don't make me sound like a saint. I'm not. I just couldn't pass up the opportunity. You don't have to explain further. Reaching out, Cade squeezed her hand. If I could bring my father back, I would do anything. He died of cancer. She gasped. I'm sorry for your loss. I'm glad you have a chance to try and save your brother. I respect what you're doing. I just hope it's not for nothing. What do you mean? Corey has a fighting chance with the trial meds, right? He does, but Corey had a relapse just before I came and had to be admitted. I almost didn't come because I was so worried. Knew I wouldn't be able to communicate with my family while I participated in the trials. But my mother reminded me of what was at stake if I didn't come. Gosh, Kat, I'm so sorry to hear that. Was he any better before you came? Corey was doing a little better before I left. I wouldn't have any info about him unless... Cade wouldn't let her go there. Getting chosen for temptation happened for a reason. Once this is over, your brother will be able to get the medicine he needs, and then Corey will be healthy again. She squeezed his hand. Thanks for saying that. It's what I feel in my heart will happen. Thunder rumbled through the air. I can't believe we might actually be stuck in this mess. It sucks, donkey balls. If I do have to be stranded, though, I am glad it's with you. Kat's moss green eyes dilated. Butterflies swirled in her stomach that he felt the same way she did.